Hey everybody, happy Monday. It's March 17th. It's St. Patty's Day. Welcome to Good Day NWA. I'm Mackenzie Holtzclaw. Here's what's coming up on today's show. Like I just said, it's St. Patrick's Day, but how much do you really know about this holiday? Well, celebrity historian Raffi Andonian is joining us to share some fascinating facts about the holiday that you might be surprised what you learned. St. Patrick's Day is more than just parades and green beer. It is a celebration rich in history.
Today we're joined by celebrity historian Raffi Andonian, who's here to share the origins of St. Patrick's Day parades, the impact of Irish culture in Arkansas, and maybe even his favorite Irish beer. So let's dive into some history. Great to see you, Raffi.
What's up?
Great to see you. In fact, let me grab my favorite Irish beer
What
right
is
now.
it?
Smithwick's. That's my favorite. One of the oldest breweries in Ireland. It's certainly my favorite. So I'm going to grab one to get started. Now, here's something funny for you. I even wore my St. Patrick's Day colors, of course, the green. But green was not the original color of St. Patrick's Day. It was blue. No. So this is my historic. What? That's right. So I'm actually wearing the real St. Patrick's Day colors here.
Blue?
Because if you look at oral Ireland mythology and Gaelic stories. Cheers. The stories of Irish independence, of Irish sovereignty, are portrayed with figures that are in blue. So that's why the blue is the original color for St. Patrick's Day.
When did it switch to green?
Over the course of time, over cultural heritage, or just one of those things that gradually changes culturally. Yeah, it's not a sudden thing that happens all at once. Now, what's interesting about celebrating St. Patrick's Day back in Ireland is, in addition to color shift over time, is the fact that it was not quite the drinking holiday the way that we see it, and it did not have the parades. Now, don't get me wrong, there was drinking. They would take a break from Lent. It falls during Lent. But it was more to the patron saint of Ireland, of course, St. Patrick, who's not Irish, by the way.
No,
he's not. He was entrapped and enslaved in Ireland, actually, escaped and came back to Ireland and converted them to Catholicism. And, of course, then was elevated to sainthood. So it's kind of funny that he wasn't Irish himself originally. But then the celebrations was a religious holiday, again, included gathering and feasting and drinking, but was not necessarily a holiday dedicated to drinking the way that we see it here, right? But what's interesting is the rise of St. Patrick's Day parades are uniquely American. So what you're seeing on screen there, for example, you see that parade taking place. There you see an Irish-American scene very much with the pinning of the shamrock on from a mother to a son. Another set of scenes from the St. Patrick's Day parades and the temperance movement that took place actually at St. Patrick's Day parades in America to actually cut down some of the drinking because it got too debaucherous, believe it or not. That's right.
Too much drinking. We are too much. Okay, I have a question about the Irish influence in Arkansas. What do we need to know about that?
Boil it down for us.
Really huge here in Arkansas. 15% of Arkansas's population draws Irish heritage. The first wave is Scotch-Irish, which is Scottish immigrants into Ireland, Ulster, the northern province of Ireland, in the 18th century, who then came here. That's the Scotch-Irish. They were Protestant. They were part of that early Irish influence that we're talking about. Then there is a second wave, which is Catholic in the mid-19th century during the potato famine. And they come to Arkansas, led by actually a priest in Ireland who wanted to support the Irish community in Little Rock, despite the religious differences, believe it or not. Now, it's those Catholics that deal with some of the Irish discrimination that we've all heard about, and it plays out sometimes in St. Patrick's Day parades because sometimes they would disagree on the politics, and sometimes that's why you had multiple St. Patrick's Day parades in this same town, believe it or not. That's right. Now, eventually, the Irish do come, despite those differences, they do come together politically against the discrimination in the United States, including in Arkansas, and they create the Green Machine, as it's known, which is the Irish political power, and a great example ties back to St. Patrick's Day. Harry Truman, when he showed up to the St. Patrick's Day parade in New York City while he was president, gave that legitimacy and showed that in order to get the Green Machine, you as a politician had to be present in those places like St. Patrick's Day parades like we see.
Green Machine.
How cool is that? So it all interconnects and it plays out on the parade and the political scene and all the religious differences that to some extent come together here in America because of that.
Yes.
Wow.
You already said,
one more thing on Arkansas that we have to say. The world's shortest St. Patrick's Day parade takes place here in Arkansas. Rhode Island disputed it a little bit. There was a little bit of a squabble over that. But it remains here. 98 feet long is the street that it's on. That's right. So that is worth noting. So Arkansas, really special place for Irish and St. Patrick's Day parades. So you know what? I'm going to do a cheers to that with my carrot. Cheers. Some healthy food.
I'll do
and
it
how about
with
Lucky Charms? Because the luck of the Irish that's here in Arkansas, wonderful, rich heritage. And by the way, leprechauns have their own separate holiday in Ireland. It's not just on St. Patrick's Day, believe it or not. It's up in May. It's like May 13th, something like that is when the leprechauns have their holiday.
We got to celebrate that on the show. Raffi, thanks for bringing in all the history.
Raffi.
Bring in the beer, some Smithwick's. I got some Murphy's. What do you have? Some Sullivan's?
I don't know. Sullivan's
Absolutely
Brewing
delicious.
Company.
And obviously we got the Guinness over there, the OG. Yes, fun stuff for St. Patrick's Day. Celebrate, everybody, and enjoy. We'll be right back with more Good Day NWA.
Cheers.
Cheers.